Hey guys, I'm realizing as I'm filming these that I am hitting on a lot of bad ideas. So, for my credibility's sake, I'm going to go over one of my good ideas. This one has like the potential. It has $1 million baby potential. But unlike the one that caused me to make this channel, I don't have a provisional patent on this. Honestly, if somebody can make it work, just to make it work, okay? Uh, this one is my insulation idea, and it is based on. I would say maybe name it something like green housing or something. I was playing around with like trying to figure out if you could like make a weird town design unimportant. The functioning idea is the idea that kind of builds off of thermal diodes. I think that's correct. The idea is that oh, this is nothing like my idea. Maybe it is. Anyway, it's more or less a pretty simple idea, but one that we don't see a lot of in insulation, and it's the idea of manipulating the actual thermal radiation. So most insulation works around the idea of slowing down heat gain or loss. And to a degree, that works well. But if it really worked well, it would not be as big of a problem. So there's kind of two ideas wrapped into this. There's like the basic idea that is like pretty much ready made, and then the more complicated idea. So I'm just going to jump right in to the simple version. The simple version is that you essentially create a multi sheet panel where you have like an aluminum square or something, and you have like four of them inside of like a foam frame or something. And on one side, you would coat them with a dark coloring to help them absorb, whereas the other side would be shined so that it was more reflective and less likely to absorb. Combined with the airspace in between the plates, it should have a fair R value on itself in terms of stopping heat flow. But on the thermal spectrum, it should allow heat to more easily pass one directionally. And I looked into it, and it seems like you could get like a fair amount of heat movement from this kind of passive system. Like, if you wanted more heat, you could directionally point them all in, and when there is heat, it would let the heat inside. So, like, let's say you live in Canada or you're on an Arctic research base or something like that. This would help to allow when there is heat for it to come inside and stay inside. And it would reduce heating costs by an estimate of like 40%, which is pretty good. Uh, on top of that, I feel like it could do well with maybe like refrigerators or what are those specialized cups called? You know, the ones with the air gap? They're just a basic coat on the inside on one side. But I guess those are neither hot nor cold. Uh, I'm blanking out a lot tonight. I gotta drink my second Red Bull. What are the other things called that you stick drinks in a cooler? So yeah, I think it'd work for coolers too. I even ran some cost analysis on this, and it seems like you would be able to manufacture it for a comparable price to like bat and foam insulations. The only two concerns I really have about it would be that A, the sizing would need to be appropriate for the house. So you would need to design some way to cut it well, and then you would want to be able to cut. I think you would want it in like sheets or something, and then you would also want the you would want it to come with more of that like foam frame so that you could reframe it, make sure that the air doesn't travel between the layers and lose a whole bunch of the efficiency. The complicated one is much more complicated. I mean, it's not really that. It's pretty simple in terms of complicating it, but the logistics get a lot more complicated. I was like, how can you make this reversible easily? And I'm sure that there is someone smarter than me out there who can come up with a great way. But when you're making insulation, it's got to be on a budget. So it's got to be fairly simple. So my idea was that you have the layer of absorbing material, whether that be paint or whatever you decide to use. You have that on its own separate sheet that is pressed flat to one side or the other. And you can essentially flip a switch or pull something like a curtain would be and have that sheet slide over. Like there would be gap towards the top and the bottom so that the air could flow around it and it would push flat to the other side so that you can swap which side is emissive and reflective. Real simple, sure. Actually implementing it and making it work across an entire house, questionable. Uh, if you could make it work though, the heating and cooling savings would be absolutely astronomical. I think that generally both heating and cooling, you would be sitting at somewhere around an average of like 40% energy savings. And I ran those numbers with the help of an AI. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, so take that with the largest grain of salt you can find. There was something else I wanted to say about it, but it's lost to the world now. So maybe if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to comment below. If you are smarter than I am and can try and run your own numbers, that would be great. But I think it's an idea that has a lot of potential. Actually, I do remember. I remember now. Uh, one of the reasons why I didn't run with this is because to implement an idea like this, even the basic one, you would need to essentially get everything vetted very heavily. Uh, Builders are not fond of new materials in any form due to asbestos. I think that's why I'm not. It's just like off the top of my head. Generally, they try and avoid things that could be like cancerous or harmful. But on the bright side, like you could 99% make this with like already proven inert materials. So me thinks good idea. Okay, bye.